something to read before we can start our meeting. So as a preliminary matter, this is Aaron Vandestein, Chair of the Board of Library Trustees. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Let's start with Martin Essner. Marty, can you hear me?
I don't think Marty can hear us.
So maybe he was a good one to start with.
Oh, no.
God.
Okay, I just got a text from Dana. Let's go to Karen Sepitelli.
Here.
Okay, Douglas Bowman
Here.
and Daniela Sharma.
Here.
Okay, and staff, when I call your name, please respond the affirmative. Beth Galloway.
Present.
Elizabeth Patch.
Affirmative.
Okay, great. So I think we just need to wait for Marty to come back, and then we come back to that piece. So good evening. This open meeting of the Grafton Board of Library Trustees is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all public meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, Board of Library Trustees is convening by Zoom video conference as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and that take care not to share screen your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Beth Galloway, could you please send Dana Wilson the link to the meeting? I guess she doesn't have it.
Aaron,
Yes?
I need a copy of what you just read for the record.
Yep. I'm going to continue on.
Okay.
Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first read public comments, questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and/or applicant responses. Public comments during the meeting will be conducted through the chat via Zoom meeting. The chair will read real-time comments, questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board responses. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay. Let's go back to Martin Essner. Can you hear us okay now?
Yes, I can. I apologize for that technical problem.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So give me a moment just to pull up the agenda and we can get started. Dana says she can't get in. Is she in the lobby?
I think I have to stop sharing my screen to see it. Hold on.
Okay. Okay, someone's sharing a photo here.
Yeah, no, she is not in the lobby. I just texted her to, oh, there she is.
Okay.
That's a library program picture, I think from March. All right, so here's the agenda.
Very good. We have Dana. Here we go. Hi, Dana. I'm going to call your name. If you can just respond the affirmative that you can hear me. I'll wait till she's connected. Dana Wilson, can you hear me? Can you please take off your microphone or off mute?
There we go.
Okay,
Hi.
great.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
I can hear you, Dana.
I could hear you a minute ago. It's off mute.
You just muted yourself again.
Yeah, we can't hear you when you mute yourself. That's all. So you're muted right now. We can't hear what you're saying.
So a trick is if you're muted and you hold the space bar, that unmutes you while you're holding the space bar down and talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I already did that once. Okay. I've been on Zoom before. All right. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, very good. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:14 p.m. I don't know that I've had the opportunity to look through the minutes yet. Did anybody look through them and send comments to Beth?
This is Daniela. Yes, I looked through them. I didn't have any comments and just wrote Beth a quick note about that.
And Beth also looked at the minutes.
Okay. We have enough of us who's looked at the minutes to vote to accept them.
I've looked through them and I had no comments.
Okay,
It's not any better.
very good. Then I will hear a motion to accept the minutes.
Moved.
Is that Marty?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay. All in favor? Let's go down the list here.
I need two motions.
Yes. I need a second.
I second. Oh,
Sorry.
That's okay.
Looks like Karen seconded. Let her have that one.
You have the next one, Dana.
Okay, I'm gonna just change my lighting.
Okay. And we'll say all in favor. We'll start with Karen Sepitelli,
Aye.
and we'll go to Doug Bowman. Can't hear you, Doug.
Aye.
Okay. Martin Essner,
Aye.
Dana Wilson,
Aye.
Daniela Sharma. Oh, can't hear you, Daniela. I saw you say aye. Oh, still can't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, very good. And I will say aye as well. Good. Okay. Let's hope there's not too much to vote on. Let's go down to a review of bills.
So my recollection is that I possibly did not bring any to the March meeting, but I've been emailing them every week that we've done a warrant. Some weeks we skip because there aren't enough, or Eileen has not gotten to it. But I've been forwarding them every week as we've been submitting warrants. You've noticed a shift from physical materials to electronic materials in the last month. And that's been the majority of our purchasing. We're still paying electric bill, haven't had a sewer bill in a while. Possibly there were some office and cleaning supplies in March, some employee reimbursements for mileage and various expenses throughout the last 2 months. So as I send them out, I ask for questions if people want me to identify vendors or what we specifically spent on, but you know that when I send the warrant, all of those invoices are there for you to review. So I'm looking for a motion to approve all the bills that I have signed off on from our February meeting through present. I think last week we skipped. It would have been the second week of April, let's say.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the bills up to this point?
Mhm. Okay, I make a motion to approve all bills from February through now, as submitted by Beth.
A second?
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Karen Sepitelli,
Aye.
Doug Bowman,
Aye.
Aye.
Martin Essner,
Aye.
Daniela Sharma,
Aye.
and Dana Wilson.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, next on the agenda is membership. We have an opening on the board right now. One of our board trustee members had stepped down a few months ago. And we also have an upcoming election. Marty is running for an open seat, and Karen is running for re-election. So any questions, comments there about Karen and Marty running? Anything, Marty or Karen, you'd like to say on your behalf?
Not really. I intend to run, and I hope to be elected.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I handed in my papers. So Marty, I believe it's you and I on the ballot, 2 names for 2 open seats. So that should be a great race.
Well, I hope we both get in, Karen.
I hope so too. Fingers crossed here, right?
Mhm. Great. So any lines on a potential candidate for the board for Martina's seat?
Well, we had a couple of people visit before we went virtual, and off the top of my head, I don't remember their names. I don't know if they're still interested.
Beth Patch might know.
Can I
I
just
think-
ask, did we exceed our month of our own choice at this point?
Absolutely. So if we wanted to appoint somebody, they'd have to go in front of the select board. Yeah. So Beth Patch, if you have the contact information for that woman who visited our meeting, I may have it, so I'll try to look that up. If you could send that to me. Thank you.
I will do it.
Okay. On to the MPLCP Building Program Grant. Beth Galloway.
Thanks, Aaron. So we had not a complete stoppage or shutdown, but certainly delays throughout January, February, and March as we developed a plan and sought change order money through change orders to deal with our soil contamination and dewatering. So we did a lot of behind the scenes work, submittals, approvals, RF requests for information, but really nothing seemed to be happening on site. We finally got all of our permitting and approvals from the state, from the town, and moved forward with beginning to excavate. The original excavation called for possibly depths of 6 to 11 feet, but some of those are going to be deeper. So one of the change orders was just simply digging deeper to get to that soil that we could build on. Another change order dealt with removing the contaminated soil and bringing each load of soil to one of 3 different landfills based on how contaminated that cell. They basically did a grid and plotted out where the contamination was to 3 different landfills. And then another change order was for the dewatering. So all of that started maybe 3 weeks ago. So if you've been by the site, you've noticed there's diggers and there's pipes and there might be some noise. However, then we went into basically a statewide cessation of non-essential construction projects with, I think, March 16th or so. And at first we did think that municipal construction was considered to be essential, but Mass Board of Library Commissioners did clarify with the governor's office. Then the Carpenters Union sent a letter, I think statewide, that they didn't want to do any work. Not that they didn't want to, but for their own safety, they needed to not be working in spite of any safety protocols. I think we had a carpenter on site briefly for our job. But the bottom line is we have been asked by Mass Board of Library Commissioners and clarified through the governor's office that the essential construction right now is anything school related. So they're up and running and ready for September, I believe. So it's not quite a cease and desist, but we've been advised we need to stop with our project. The problem is, as we're digging into this contaminated soil and we have water rising, that's creating its own set of problems. We can't just walk away from the construction site. So CTA, our construction company, developed a plan, a sort of phase plan to clear out what they need to clear out so they can sort of safely button down. And that also means as they're digging next to our current building in this wet, muddy soil, they don't want to compromise that original foundation. There's no new issues that we've discovered. It's just we want to be really careful. Not only that, but if we do have a 24/7 camera on the construction project, and Andy DeShane, he's around, he's checking it. I have a login too, but without somebody there every day making sure that no one's going onto the site, messing with anything, or that nothing is being compromised with all that digging, like we needed to have a good plan in place. So we right now have actually May 11th, I think, or May 12th as the deadline to pull the trucks and send everybody home. Now, of course, we had a May 4th. We thought we might be restarting, but that didn't happen. So we're just proceeding with our plan to have a complete shutdown by May 11th, and then we'll see what happens on May 18th, which is the new date to re-examine the possibility of, lessening that edict for non-essentials to stop. So, yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's incredible that it's still going. I will say, I notice everyone has masks. We have sanitizing stuff on site. We have a hand wash station. People are keeping their distance. We don't have more than 6 to 8 people at a time. And it's like one guy on the ground directing and another person, in a truck. So yeah, I'd say as safe as we can be, but still anything where you're leaving your home and you're going elsewhere, is a violation of that recommendation that people be safe at home.
So I'm a little surprised that they're still operating when there's a shutdown. So you're saying because of the rising water, that's why they need to continue the construction project and then stop by May 11th?
It's a combination of things. It's again, the soil was contaminated, so now they're digging up all those contaminants and creating more exposure, plus the water, which they can barely keep up with. you know, there's wetlands adjacent, so they're digging and water's coming up, and if they're not there for a day, water's coming up. And then again, the other issue is if we're digging next to the foundation of the old building, we want to make sure that that's still shored up and not starting to collapse as we've got all that soil coming up.
Okay, so it's minimal staff just to complete that particular part of the project, correct? Sorry, Beth.
Sorry, I'm yelling at my family to please quiet down in the background.
It's
What was
okay,
that?
we can't hear them. It might be distracting you, but it's not distracting us. So I'm guessing they just want to finish up this particular part of the project before,
Yeah.
I see, okay.
Yeah, and it's not even that they're like digging out all of the, I don't think the plan is to dig out all of the contaminated cells necessarily. But even after all that soil is excavated, the dewatering plan extends another month, pumping out and cleaning all the water and then getting it out to the sewer system.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'm going to open up the floor. Karen Sabatelli, any questions, comments?
Yeah, I guess any idea yet about how far behind we are on the overall project?
I haven't seen a new completely updated schedule. I would estimate we lost 3 to 4 months with various delays, because CTA did come in with a pretty quick 14-month, 467 days or something like that schedule of work days. So, you know, it's going to add on whatever we're closed. It's certainly going to add on. So I don't know, maybe now we'll be opening in June or July. It's hard to say. It really depends on how long we're shut down for at this point. But we were still looking at a late spring, you know, end of April, beginning of May opening. So now it might be June or July. If we open in July, like July 1st, 2021, that's the new fiscal year. So that may actually be very advantageous from a budget standpoint. Of course, it means we're extending our lease for St. Andrews. So that's unanticipated cost.
Yeah.
We do have, for our total contract for the project, we do have a do not exceed cost. So, so even if there's delays, like they can only charge us so much to like have the project extended and staff on site.
All right. All right. Thank you for that. And always good to be looking on the bright side of things, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, Doug Bowman, you have a question?
Yeah,
comment?
Beth, do you know, did we find out, I know there was talk about MBLC potentially, you know, increasing funds because of this. Has there been any communication related to that?
Yeah, there was a MBLC conference call related specifically to the Mass Public Library Construction Program grants, because there's libraries who are still getting reimbursement checks. There's some that are in the middle of construction. There's some that are on that waiting list. There's 24 on the waiting list still. So in the call yesterday, they said that there wouldn't, like, the budget is set. There's no new money available. However, our reimbursement is based on that original estimate, 16.597, right, $16.6 million. And that's our do not exceed in the contract. So if we're not going to be expending more money because we have a contract, we wouldn't need to necessarily to be requesting more money from Mass Board of Library Commissioners. And they've always had a, you know, you get what you get. If you spend less, then we pay you less, but we're never going to give you more than that projected $7.4 million. The question that I asked in our conference call was what happens if it turns out, will MBLC take a leadership role in helping municipalities find more money? Like, could we argue if we're shut down for 3 months and the construction company says, yeah, we have a contract, but we need to charge you more, will they help us find COVID-19 related relief money to help alleviate those costs? And they said there won't be a need for it because you have a bottom line do not exceed. So, I mean, change orders, even the change orders, they can't exceed that 16.6 is my understanding. Anyway, I could be wrong. Might be a question for Andy. Check in with him. We have a building committee meeting on Monday, so we can clarify then, but I'm just reporting what MBLC said when I asked. Also, there's no, I don't know, punishments may be the wrong word, but we're not in trouble with Mass Library Board of Commissioners if, you know, if we need to extend the project or delay it or whatever. We're pretty locked in. Contracts are signed, money is being borrowed, vendors are being paid. unlike say a library who is on the waiting list who hasn't started, who now has to go back to their town next year or the year after and try and get the funding for their project, and could run into problems and miss a deadline for MBLC because they're not able to get the funding. So us moving forward and moving ahead and borrowing and waiting for the reimbursement turns out again to be a really smart cost-saving move.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Doug. Martin Essner, do you have any questions, comments for Beth?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thanks. Daniela Sharma?
Does the town administrator, Tim, know about the challenges of the, closed work order or the recommendation to not do work on site and this, ongoing issue with the cleanup?
Yeah, as far as I know, Andy has been in touch with him frequently about that. I haven't spoken directly to him about it. His main question is still, do you know if and when the reimbursement money is coming? And one of the things MBLC did say on the call is that they've been waiting since November for their $250 million construction bond to be authorized by the legislature. And for whatever reason, they still haven't signed it. They were also looking for a cap from 20 million a year to 25 million a year, so that it's not going to take 10 to 15 years for those waitlisted libraries to get their funding. So all I know, as far as they know, the money is still coming, but it hasn't been authorized into a bill yet. And that's been Tim's primary concern and question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dana Wilson, any questions, comments for Beth?
Just a quick comment to follow up with what Beth just said. Should we do any advocacy on that? Should we get in touch with our state reps and state senators?
I think it never hurts
Okay.
to be reaching out and reminding them that we're still waiting for that.
Are they still meeting?
I don't know.
Okay.
They must be. I mean, bills are getting signed.
Okay.
Yeah, so David Meridian is our representative, and then Michael Moore is our senator.
And is it, what would we call it? It's the bill, it's the library funding bill?
Yeah, it's the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program grant, $250 million bond authorization. I can look for my, whatever email I sent out probably last fall, and send out a new copy with the phone numbers to contact if that would be helpful.
Okay, I'll do that. I will do that.
Good. Thank you. One last call for questions, comments. Very good. Moving right along. We have the Grafton Public Library Capital Campaign data.
Okay. The good news is our brochure is ready to be printed. So I'm getting, Doug and I have to speak a little bit about that, but we have one quote. So I'd like to get it done, and then I'm hoping the next week or two we could have maybe a Zoom meeting with some of the committee members. I wanted to kind of get a sense. I thought we might have a sense of, well, I don't know. I was hoping to have a sense of like what was going to happen with the governor and the whole getting back to work issue. So I have a sense that I just have a sense that maybe by the end of June we'll be in that way. So I want to just see if we could get some appointments. So that's what I have to, that's our next thing to do.
Okay. Thank you, Dana. Looks like Doug has a question, comment.
I would just add, I mean, obviously this is going to be a really challenging environment for fundraising. So that's another thing that the group will end up talking about at our next meeting is just when the right time is to go out and approach certain people and just strategies around that.
Yeah, because people are doing fundraising now, so it's not, and this is a capital. It's for a project, so it's a building project. So yeah, we'll be. I can only hope that things will get more positive as time goes on. But we will be meeting on that and discuss that.
Great. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Doug. Any questions, comments? Karen Sepitelli? Shaking your head no.
I'm all set.
No.
Thank you.
Martin Essner?
I'm all set, thank you.
Daniela Sharma?
I am all set, thanks.
No question, comments here. How about Beth Galloway? That's good. Okay. Let's go on. I guess ongoing agenda items. Some of these might be really quick. Do we have an IT update? Maybe of a different sort. Beth Galloway.
I found a better, faster, newer computer priced at $2,800, and I will have to go back at the minutes and look at what was authorized for me to spend. I think we'd capped it at $2,500. It sounds like a lot of money. I'm looking for a fast machine that has a new processor that has a terabyte hard drive. And I'm willing to compromise and get a half a terabyte drive, but I haven't been able to. I've asked for 2 quotes from 2 different vendors, and I have a third one lined up. So it is a lot of money. But the one that I have now, which is now slow and out of space, it's 7 years old. So I'd rather spend a chunk of change and have it for a while.
Okay.
I think that there was a just buy a computer, Beth, edict. So I think
Yes.
I'm gonna
Should we
order it.
vote on that again tonight if we need to increase it?
I think I'd like to take a look first.
Okay. The specs. Yeah, you could say i9. Get an i9 or not.
Yeah, because there's the 10th gen processors out, and I'm familiar with the i9, but there's also the i7 10th gen. I think the generation is probably what you're most interested in.
Okay. I'll send you what I have.
Yeah, if you could send it,
Actually, I will. Okay.
it'd probably be okay. But at this point, I'd just like to take a look at it. I think that's what we agreed on
Thank you.
last time.
Yeah, and I would suggest going to a 500 gigabyte drive if it gives you an SSD drive versus a old style 1 terabyte,
Okay.
because you'll get much better battery life and much better performance out of an SSD.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
In other news, I was in the library on Patriots Day, the 20th of April, to pick up mail and do a couple of things. I turned on all of the patron and staff computers that were off, and downloaded a folding program that contributes computer power to medical research. So we have computers in the building running, hopefully doing something positive instead of just sitting there unused. And my assumption is that the electrical power to run them is pretty minimal, and that would be okay to just do. So I'm I don't know, proud and excited to feel like I'm doing something. You could specify COVID-19 research, but I don't know that they had simulators in the United States that were modeling that yet. So I just did a general medical research donation. Basically, it's not compromising any data from the town, from the staff computers, from the patron computers. It's just using processing power.
Yeah, I think that's a smart use of kind of unused computer resources. The only thing I would caution is just turning off the monitors,
Okay.
because that'll save a lot of power. Displays
Okay.
tend to use a lot of energy. That's why they have that sleep mode. Probably
you want
okay when
me
you
to-
go to sleep, but
Do you want me to do that, Beth? Turn them off? Turn off-
I'm probably going back Monday, whatever the next Monday is, the 4th. Yeah, so I can. Yeah, we're trying to get to see Peter every 2 weeks. So, and then quarantining for 2 more weeks. So, yeah, yeah. Still not sick from visiting with him. And then I guess the other thing, staff everyone who requested a town computer and access to the VPN are up and running. And as various IT issues have come up, like, I wanted to log into the Evergreen staff end catalog, but I couldn't because I needed to register a new workstation. Between Coughlin and myself, we've been able to get staff up and running with everything that they need. It's great.
Great.
glad to hear that.
Nice work.
Okay. I'll open the floor. Any questions, comments? Doug Bowman? Martin Esper?
No,
Daniela Sharma?
None.
Dana Wilson?
No, good work, Beth. Thank you.
Karen Sepatelli?
No questions.
All right, very good. Next is a Friends update in membership. I think I saw Karen, you offering your Zoom account. Were you able to attend the meeting?
Yeah, I hosted and attended the Friends meeting on April 7th, and it actually worked out very well doing that on Zoom. So we got a basic update of what's going on. At the time, it was talked about with the cancellation of the egg hunt and all of that stuff. So it was mostly, unfortunately, all about the cancellations and things like that. They did put the order in for the summer program t-shirts. And they did talk about the fact of moving the summer programming online and things like that. That was being worked on with Beth. Apparently the donations are still coming in. They have had some people mailing checks. And there was just a question about if anyone is checking the mailbox at the post office, and if they're not, I'm going to the post office every week to check for my business PO box. So I could always, check the library mail at the same time if needed. I don't know if you know what's going on with that, Beth.
So the Friends mail comes to the library mailbox.
Yeah.
We'd been asking Eileen to go once a week and then to quarantine things for about a week before she opened them. We got a lot of pushback and pressure from the Friends. They wanted to get their hands every day on the mail. They said, we'll quarantine it, and when it's available, we'll let you know. So,
okay, so it is the mail is being checked?
collected. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
that there has been a pickup. I will check back with Eileen and ask if she's been in touch with Ellen to come and get the mail.
Yeah, because Ellen had mentioned there was a couple of larger checks that were coming in, and she was just concerned if they weren't cashed in a timely manner, then they may be putting stop payments on them or something.
Right. Yeah. Usually we have 60 days. Like I said, I thought they had done a pickup, but I'll circle back and check.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If you need me to do anything, I'm there once a week and I can help out. So.
I appreciate it.
So those were like the main parts of the meeting, and just trying to figure out what to do going forward. So, and the next meeting is scheduled, I believe, for next Tuesday. So, and we'll be doing the same thing again with the Zoom account. So, Aaron, you are muted.
Thank you.
There you go.
Do you have any volunteers to join that meeting, Karen? If you're hosting, you don't necessarily have to.
I'll obviously be there, so yep.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, on to landscape garden. Anything to mention there, Beth Patch?
Well, Beth Patch and husband built a 8x16 raised bed. It is giant. And I have started planting seeds and made a plan, and I'm going to get in touch with Mary at Peralt's to see what kind of plants she's got coming in. The bed has been loaded, it's settled. I might add some more peat moss, but it's looking good. Have you seen it, Beth? I took pictures of all the flowers and the shrubs that are coming up. I might do a little bit of work over there on Sunday outside. But we're going to have a really nice raised bed, and we rearranged the round pots. It eludes me right now, but anyway, the whiskey barrels, we rearranged them so they're kind of suit the raised bed, and I'm going to use our path stones in that area. The staff path stones. So it's coming along. We couldn't plant right now until probably sometime in May because it's been really cool for planting.
Very good. Thank you, Beth. It looks
Where
like
was that
Karen
gonna-
Sepatelli has a comment.
Yeah, I was just asking Beth, have they moved B School to be virtual, or how is that working out?
So I was the first person to go out of B school to let them know. And they told me that day that they were going to decide what to do because that was the second class that I was going to leave. And they canceled B school. And now it is virtual.
Great. Thank you, Beth. Looks like Doug Bowman has a question about the location of the raised bed.
Is it up in the front? I was just wondering where it was.
So where the whiskey barrels, so to speak, are, it's right in the front. And Peralt's came and dumped the soil right into it, and then we smoothed it out. And I think it's going to be really nice.
Is that the soil from the library?
Oh no, that's long gone.
Okay.
No, we got it. I got soil from Peralt's.
Terrific.
Okay, excellent. I think we've heard from most everyone on this topic. Martin Essner.
I just want to say thank you, Beth, for doing that. I think it's great. I'm sure it'll look lovely.
Oh, thank you very much. I want to work with the patrons and give them something exciting to come back to besides, of course, books, but I want to give them something exciting.
Great. And Daniela
Give
Sharma.
them something to talk about.
Sorry, repeat that, Martin.
I said, give them something to talk about.
Does everybody see it? Beth, did you do that? Beth Patch? Wow, I love it.
Ben and I did that.
My goodness.
It's a big bed.
I love it.
Yeah, that is very large, but it'll be great once it starts filling in.
Yeah, it'll be really nice.
Right.
Very good. Daniela Sharma, anything to questions, comments?
No, I'm just going to echo what everybody said. It looks beautiful, and I can't wait to see it in person.
Thanks, everybody.
I have one follow-up question. So now that we can get an idea of what it looks like, will you be planning anything really quite tall? Because I just remember in the raised beds we had the sunflowers.
Actually, I've been kind of playing around with doing a circle in the middle there with the sunflowers. I have a crazy husband here right now, but doing like a circle in the center there and like an opening to the sunflowers so the kids could go in there in the circle of the sunflowers.
Oh, that'd be very fun.
That's been I've been thinking about that.
Is that going to be in the bed or somewhere else? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Right, I'm trying to mute for Ben.
And
I told him not to come in the kitchen, but here he is.
I had the best.
Okay. We'll give that the pass.
I'm worried about kids climbing into the raised bed and tripping, but we have a nice sunny lawn.
Well, that's why I'm going to make a pathway with the
there, okay.
stones. And then we'll lead right into the circle of, what are we talking about? Sunflowers. I got distracted.
I wish we had a bench out there.
Well, we do.
Oh, okay.
There is one. I think we've got two, and we could certainly move one closer near the garden seasonally.
Terrific.
I think one's on the porch maybe, and one's by the book drop. We moved them because of the snow removal.
Terrific.
Also garden related, I don't know if everybody saw, but Beth Patch did an amazing 2-minute video on how to repot a plant that got posted to GCTV as what to do with your time in quarantine, and it was fantastic. And it was the first video that I had asked staff to think about doing something. I've been editing something forever, but she was the first one to jump on it and do something really succinct and useful and well filmed. Could hear everything, and it made the library look really good. So thanks, Beth.
Did we put that up on our social media pages?
Yeah, I can repost it though, if you missed it.
Yeah, because then we
Please
could.
do. Okay. Thank you, Beth Patch. Let's move on to any noise complaints. That one I think we can easily pass over unless you have anything to say there? I will make the executive decision to move over noise complaints. Besides our children making us crazy at home. And let's move on to space issues. Besides our cramped quarters at home, I don't think there's much more to say there. And membership update. We spoke about that at the beginning of the meeting. Let's move on to the 2021 Long Range Planning Committee. Marty, is that something you'd like to start us off with? Oh, we can't hear you, Marty.
I attended I think the one and only meeting that we had, which was very interesting. The coordinator specialist, I don't know what her title is, did a very nice job.
Facilitator.
Pardon me?
Facilitator. Patty
Facilitator.
DeTullio, library director.
Did a very nice job. I had not been to such an event previously, in soliciting comments, ideas from everyone there. Unfortunately, we're on hold with that because of being shut down pretty much. And I don't know that there's even a date scheduled for any follow-up to it, virtual or otherwise. Do you know, Beth?
I have not scheduled everything. I got the minutes from Beth Patch, thank you. I can send them out for everyone to look at. I haven't, one of my assignments was in April to put together a survey that we would be able to collect those results and then have them available at the scheduled, I think, May 10th meeting. But I've been solely focused on pandemic related stuff and haven't done a survey yet. Mass Board of Library Commissioners has extended the deadline for both action plans and new long range plans. I forget what those dates are off the top of my head, but I think we just need to have like another additional year action plan on file by the end of this year. And we can wait for the 5-year plan. But Patty and I, haven't connected to see if we want to try to do it virtual or not. I would advise that we could probably have a virtual meeting if we wanted to move it forward. But I think this board can, I also know the new deadline, and I think this board is the one who will decide, do we want to try and push it through and get it in, or do we want to hold off and wait and kind of see what happens? One benefit of that is, we are doing this plan for a library that we're not actually in yet. And so there's a lot of speculation about programs and services.
If I read the notice right, I think the extension is a year.
Yeah.
So, also, I do believe that, what was her name? Patty?
Patty DeTullio. Yeah.
Supposed to gather about I can't say it, a summary of the materials that she had taken and distribute that. I hadn't seen it. I don't know. Did that come back from her or not?
It didn't come back from Patty, but Beth, who's raising her hand, Beth Patch took all of the notes, and I have them. I have not sent them out to anybody yet.
Oh,
Beth,
I see. Okay.
go ahead.
The reason consider the notes incomplete is because I don't have attendance form to
I can
who
send that.
attended. And the other thing is that I was really impressed with all of the people attending that meeting seemed to have the same thought or the same similar thoughts. There was hardly anybody that had a huge different idea about what to do. And basically she had told me from the onset, she didn't really need me to take minutes. However, I did take some minutes, and I also used all of her posters. And so it's very accurate of what occurred in the meeting, and you get a very good sense of what the attendees were looking at as far as the town and what needs to move forward.
Sounds great.
Well, having attended, I'd like to see what that summary looks like at some point in time.
Yeah.
Would you like me to send that to Marty?
Yeah. If you feel like it's done, then yeah, feel free to. Why don't you go ahead and forward it?
I'll just call it a draft.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I think it'd be
need to
good for
attend.
all of us to see.
Okay, thank you. That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the idea behind the survey is we'll ask very similar questions to what Patty prompted us for. What are the strengths and weaknesses, and what are people talking about in town? Those are some of the questions we dealt with. Where do people congregate? What are the iconic things about town of Grafton?
I was really impressed that from coming from different parts of Grafton, whether south, north, or center, and that different economic factors that people in general said about the same things. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I just wonder that you get something of a slant when you have people
Yes.
volunteering to take part in that kind of a process.
Yeah.
They already feel good about the town.
No, not necessarily.
No, pardon me?
Not necessarily. I mean,
Well,
in some degree, we handpick people who are library users and supporters. So I think the survey is to dig a little deeper and find people who aren't using us and get their responses.
exactly.
Those naysayers on Facebook whose comments we don't like to read. Like, I'm going to send links to people who have something to say about the library and the building project, for sure.
So Marty, did you get I didn't get a sense that people were satisfied with everything in the town.
No, I got a feeling that there was a very affirmative emotion towards the town. They were quite proud of the town, felt very good about it. I'm a newcomer to the town, so it was interesting to me to hear that. I live in an isolated condominium complex that is not really, I think, reflective of the town in general. So it was interesting to me to get that information. That's why I want to see a summary. I want to sort of put that information together with my memory as we move forward towards ultimately making the new library most useful to the most people.
It's unfortunate that you moved here at this time, because you would get a good sense of the town if you went to the Common and through the different places. So next year.
Well, I hope to be around for a while.
Okay, thank you, Marty, for attending, and Beth for taking notes. I appreciate that. I think there's a decision that we need to consider, and Beth Galloway mentioned that we have the option to extend the deadline for that long range plan, which I think was December. Is that correct? It was December, and now it's been pushed out another year.
So the new long range plan is due, the 5-year plan is due October 1st for the first year action plan. And then subsequently each year by December 1st, you need the action plan within that 5-year plan for the next 4 years. So we actually have an October 1st deadline, which has now been pushed back, as Marty says, a year. But our long range plan is due October 1st, a 5-year plan plus a 1-year, that first year action plan.
So October, we essentially have October 2021, a year extension to get our 5-year plan in place. So I think that's very interesting because Beth, to your comment, you said we're designing a plan for a building that we haven't even seen yet. And I wonder if we're doing all this legwork now, but it may have a completely different perspective when there's a new building. But the thing is, you can't really delay it until mid 2021 until the building's here, and then start the process. So maybe I'll start with Marty. I guess, what are your thoughts on trying to complete the process now, or trying to push it off, if that may kind of change our view?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the concern you're making, Aaron. Can you explain that a little better for me?
Yeah, so Beth mentioned that we don't have the new building yet, and we're making a 5-year plan based on a building we don't have yet. I guess maybe a lot of the objectives are they really kind of building based? I don't know that they are.
Well, that was sort of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a pretty good idea what this building is going to look like. My understanding is that there is some flexibility of use in the design. And so we are probably starting with the big general objectives and then working down from there to detail objectives. I don't know that we need a year to put it off to just because we can put it off for a year.
Why did they decide that? Is that because the pandemic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of stuff we want to do before we want to think about before the building opens, including a lot of the new stuff we want to highlight about the new building. So while I agree that it's probably good to push it off a little bit, just because it's going to be so hard to get any real stuff going, I think we should definitely still plan on doing it sooner than next October.
Okay.
I just want to say,
Go ahead.
I just want to say that the majority of the meeting, and Beth can chime in here, was basically that a minority of people are conducting the town or driving the town in a direction, and the minority of people are not. And how can we enthusiase, or whatever the word is, how can we get people to move forward to take charge of their community? Now, that may surprise you as a library thing, but when I was I got that sense when I was at the meeting, and I got that sense as I was doing the minutes, that the library is that the citizens would like some, I don't know, how do we help them move forward? It wasn't about building chairs, rooms. One of the things they did want out of the library was a meeting room. But it wasn't tangible to the library. Did you think, Beth?
So, no, so the second part of the process is, okay, after everything that we discussed, what falls within scope of the library and what doesn't? So we might not be able to actively change town government, but the library might take on some kind of a, civic instruction role to push voter registration and publicize town meeting more and run a workshop for people on how to run for elected positions. So that's kind of where that shift comes in. We have this conversation about the community and what it needs. We re-examine that list and say, okay, now let's look at the library role list. What's within our purview and what isn't? And we eliminate things that don't fit, because we can't solve every problem or really be everything to everybody. There's 21 roles. We can pick three or four. I think we picked 6 last time, and that's a lot. So not everything is directly relatable from that first meeting that we have.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that so that people in this meeting understand that it wasn't anything directly like towards the new library.
Excellent. Thank you.
I agree. I can agree with that, but I do think it wasn't necessarily what Patty was looking for. And so she got the answers I think she was looking for in terms of what people's overall views were about the town towards, as Beth has said, now figuring out what of those interests or needs could be satisfied by the library, particularly by the new library.
Okay, thank you, Marty. So the decision I was trying to work towards is, it looks like at this point, from what I heard, there's no reason to rush the next meeting date until, but we have a little bit of flexibility. So I think we should move ahead, as Marty recommended, not wait until next year to continue the process, because it doesn't seem like a lot of the work to be done is going to be based on having the new building. So I'm of the opinion that we should continue on and give Beth a little bit of breathing room with everything that's going on right now, and to come up with another date to meet, I guess. Okay. Any questions, comments, thoughts? I'll go to Doug Bowman. Can't hear you yet.
No, I know. I have three monitors going on here. No, I would just say like that survey, I think that's something that, might actually be successful if it's sent out sooner because everyone's sitting at home and
Yeah,
it
they
might
are.
encourage people to respond.
Good point. Thank you, Doug. Daniela? Do we have Daniela? I don't know that.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No worries.
No, I thank you for the summary. I was just thinking about going along with the plan because even though we have the middle of it, construction in a building that doesn't exist yet, my understanding is that you can always put language in the plan that, allows for some flexibility of when the building does get built. So I wouldn't have any hesitation at all with going ahead with the plan and writing that in.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniela. Dana Wilson?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's good to keep the momentum going because you had the first meeting, and if you wait too long, it'll be, people going to forget what they discussed. There was some cohesion there. They were a group. And so now we all, I know Beth needs some time because all the work she's had to do because of the pandemic, but I would just keep, when she settles on a date, I would just go ahead and finish it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And my understanding too is that it's flexible because we don't, this is what we're thinking we'll be doing, right? It's not like written. I mean, it's not like forever, they're ideas, I believe.
Yeah, there's no penalty for not doing what we are setting out to accomplish. And then the point of that action plan every year is that's where you get down to the activity level. So you can have an overarching goal and some, action items, but then those individual activities are really the flexible piece.
Okay.
We'll make it work no matter what it is.
Great. I'm really, I like to hear what happens, what the survey tells us. And I think Doug's right. People are home now. They have time in their hands.
Yep, that's a good point. I agree. Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Karen Sepatelli?
I guess I'll just agree with everyone. Keep it going now. And I like Doug's idea of doing the survey sooner rather than later because, I mean, personally, I can't wait to get back out and go to a library. So let's dream big here. So.
Absolutely. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay. Any closing comments, questions? Very good. Thank you, Marty and Beth Galloway and Beth Patch for spearheading that initiative for us. So I'll go on to lighting in the parking lot after dark. So I don't believe that there's going to be another light put up on the left at this point. I did ask Tim about it, but at least the lot on the right, I submitted a C-click fix for because the bulb was out. When I asked Susan Lito about it, she said, well, I don't think that's ever been on, but I remember it being on because we did a survey of it. And so she thought there was a switch, but it's on now. I've been by there. So I'm not sure what happened with it, whether they fixed it or not, but it's on. So I think lighting is okay at the moment. But it looks like we'll be in that building for another winter. So it's tough. It's good that we have the light on the street now that kind of overlooks the parking lot. There's just that dim spot in the corner where the handicap spot is. So we'll leave it on the agenda, and perhaps I can. I'll just think Tim about it one last time, because I never really got an official response from him. Beth Galloway and I chatted about it offline. So, all right. Any questions, comments? See anybody perking up, so I'm just going to move on. Let's go to the parking lot extension. Doug Bowman, do you have an update for us?
I do not. Last I heard from I think that was the last meeting that I gave the update, so I have not heard back from Tim. I can check with him again. I mean, it's getting warmer weather, so it's a good time to put some gravel down, even though we're not open.
It's great. Very good.
Yeah, I'll check with him again.
Okay. Into that end, thank you, Doug. Into that end, I have an action item to call the scanner company about perhaps using the parking lot where truck stop used to be. So make sure I get that done. Very good. Moving on, new business. Let's go to Beth Galloway. A very general topic here, COVID-19. Yes.
I see you, Beth Gallo, or Beth Patch.
I just wanted to say that when I passed by the truck stop in the morning, there's quite a number of cars parked there.
Okay, there are. Okay, thank you. All right, Beth Galloway, COVID-19.
Yeah, so we had scheduled staff development for March 13th. I woke up that day with a fever and called out of work and suggested that because I didn't know what the cause of that fever and symptoms were, that we not be open for several days in case there was some exposure issue with whatever it was I had. We spent the weekend, thank you to our trustees who are so supportive, and trying to figure out a plan that was safe for staff and patrons. Ultimately, with the governor recommending a shutdown Monday the 16th of March, and schools closing, library followed suit. So we've had our building closed to the public with all staff very occupied, working off-site, answering patron reference questions, getting the bills paid, putting things on social media, creating resource links for students and for adults to keep them educated and entertained, doing virtual programming, doing readers advisory, book group, all kinds of things. So they're also doing their own professional development. And they also have an assignment from me to spend at least a quarter of their time in self-care. One of the things I'm finding is if I have 2 or 3 Zoom meetings scheduled in the morning, then the only thing I need to take a break. And then the only thing I'm able to do in the afternoon is kind of use email and monitor staff activity. There's been no extra time for any other projects to take on. We're all just sort of burnt out and exhausted. And we all very much miss our patrons and miss the library. And we're trying to come up with and strategize some ways to get in touch with those folks who are not online, those regular patrons who the library is a social visit and not just an errand to come pick up some physical materials. We are worried about them. I know some of the CERC staff has been in touch directly with our homebound patrons who we used to do delivery to. We've stopped that delivery service. And also with some of the elderly volunteers. We have some senior tax write-off volunteers who, it was a social thing. So we did, it seems, miss the opportunity to get in on the mailing to 6,000 households to remind them that the library was there and present and available for them. That would have been a great opportunity. Tim was looking for a way to get COVID-19 information out to those who were not on social media, who might not be getting the newspaper, who might not be looking at GCTV. And I don't know, it seems like we're so far into it now, it doesn't seem worth the effort to do that, but I'm open to suggestion. I was invited to be on a panel about compassionate leadership, hosted by the National Library of Medicine. So I think some of you were on the call. I'm actually very proud of the advocacy work that we did and what we're doing to keep staff employed and sane in this just unprecedented time. We had a draft pandemic policy. It's been floating around. Now that we're in the midst of a pandemic, it seems like a good time to be working on and reviewing that in case it ever happens again. And as the governor keeps reevaluating and deciding when we'll open, I do have a draft phased plan for reopening the building that starts with staff reporting every other day, no more than 5 at a time, taking returns only through the book drop, perhaps even staggering like by last initial, when you can come in and put your books in the book drop, taking some time to quarantine items, and sort of doing a very slow rollout of opening when we're sort of allowed to or when that's recommended. I was put by request on the Return to Work Committee, which is a municipal committee for town of Grafton that includes the Board of Health, custodial, the town planner, and Tim McInerney. I might be forgetting somebody. But we're sort of the ground team for how do we reopen the municipal center and the library and the senior center and the rec department and all of that. We've got an email from Tim asking, should we be buying PPE, personal protective equipment, for staff for when we reopen? When I emailed him, said that I have some concerns because if doctors and hospitals and our first responders in town maybe don't even have access to those items, but as soon as Staples or WB Mason makes them available, we're going to scoop them up. That said, here's what the library would need because we need to keep our staff protected. He did respond that if we were at a level where we still needed that kind of personal protective gear to operate, we would just wait until it was safer to open. And I found that really reassuring. That said, you know, the library is essential, town departments are essential, and we need to be open and providing services to patrons and residents. And at this point, Tim has just said, you know, work from home, do everything that you can. These are exigent circumstances, but be responding, certainly, by phone, by email, however you need to respond to patron and resident needs. So that's been our focus. And I can share out that plan. Right now, staff have been working on it, and I wanted to get something a little more comprehensive before I put it out there for you folks to look at. It's procedural, so it's not something I don't think I need to vote on, but that pandemic policy, which should include a reopening plan, would be very helpful because, of course, one of our concerns is, you know, we're data people, we do our research, we want to feel like it is safe for us and for patrons to be opening. At the same time, we don't want to have pressure from the government to open before that's safe. And we haven't been getting guidance from American Library Association, from Mass Library Association, New England Library Association, Institute of Museums and Library Services. They were very delayed in formulating responses to say, don't do curbside pickup. Staff should not be reporting and really putting out those guidelines. And where we have no national union, there's not a lot of pull and clout. So I will be looking to this board for a strong pandemic policy that will keep our staff, patrons, and materials safe and healthy.
Thank you, Beth. So you have a reopening procedural document that you're still floating around, and
Yeah.
you said you'd like to share that with us.
Yeah.
It's ready. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to be the big question is, you know, how do people start visiting the library again in a safe way? You know, supermarkets and other businesses have you know, certain policies on how you can go about and doing your shopping, but
Right.
but I wonder how that policy could be written in a way to protect, you know, people who are immunocompromised, right?
Yeah.
You know, I know that supermarkets have, you know, certain hours that people can shop. So, you know, that's something to consider, which I'm sure you guys are. So I look forward to seeing that.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Let's go down the list here. Martin Essner, do you have any questions, comments?
The issue of reopening, I just wonder, I assume that there is an association of library directors on a national level. I would think that, I would hope that there's some coordination about ideas on how to accomplish that as it is accomplished. I suspect Massachusetts may not be among the lead states in opening up, but Beth, is there an organization and is it working on something like that?
Yeah, so Mass Board of Library Commissioners, our local organization, is, I think they're going to do a couple of conference calls next week to start to address that. At a higher level, the Institute of Museum and Library Services is conducting their own independent research to look at how long the virus lingers on the type of materials that patrons may be accessing: book covers, paper, those plastic audio book jackets, a typical wood or plastic laminate library counter, metal book metal book drops and book cards. So we can have our own library specific data on how long we need to quarantine items and to which degree we need to, you know, clean them, or but that's going to be a little while in coming. But other than that, there's the American Library Association, which I'm a member of, but they don't have a director's designation. There's a public library division. Again, locally, I'm pretty active in the Blackstone Valley Library Directors Group, which is about 11 small libraries. And then there's a statewide public library directors group too. So we're all sharing documents and information, but there's sort of not a cohesive group that would put out a statement with this is the guideline to follow. And one thing is every library is different. So we might not be able to social distance for our patrons within St. Andrews. Smaller libraries are going to have even more trouble, but bigger libraries might be able to open sooner because now we can have 50 people at a time versus 10 people at a time, in proximity. So, but we are libraries. We librarians share information. So,
Just one more on the big picture thing, is anything changing with respect to rentals to make them more easily accessible?
with what?
Ebook.
Yeah. So right away, our local network, CW Mars, which has its own like Overdrive account, they expended a lot more money to buy additional copies of things, so people aren't waiting as long to get an ebook. It used to be if there were 9 holds, they would purchase a new copy of a book, and I think now it's 4 or 5. So they're decreasing those wait times. While my staff are still, reading reviews and putting physical books into a cart to order at some point, we're not actually spending our money right now on physical materials that are going to ship to the library and sit. We're putting them in a cart so when we reopen, we can order some of those things, but we're putting our money into ebooks. And we were actually able to change our Wowbrary subscription. So if you're a subscriber, you get an email every Wednesday that lists all the new materials that the library has purchased. We were able to get an ebook and e-audio feed from Overdrive. So now you get an email that has a list of the new items we've bought, and you can click through to either borrow it or put a hold on it. We always bought patron recommends requests anyway. So there is a process when you're in Overdrive and you search for an item and it says that no library owns the title, but you could make a recommendation to purchase it. So we're automatically buying those purchase requests. Most of them are reasonable in price. We've also been able to, I don't think I've spent any money to add new databases, but as database companies have said, hey, we can make our content available as long as school is closed, we've been promoting those items as well. And we also put more money into Hoopla, which is our streaming media service. So again, so people aren't waiting as long, and so that there's, they can have more checkouts of those digital items while we don't have the physical materials. So it's definitely beefed up. Our stats were up. I only looked at February to March, I think, and there was a jump of, I think about 500 additional checkouts in March compared to February because we were closed for 2 weeks in March. I did not go look at the April stats. We're almost at the end of the month to see how much more we checked out for the full month of March or full month of April as compared to March. But I suspect those stats are definitely going to be higher than ordinarily anticipated. People using it. And we are answering a lot of, we know patrons are using these digital services because we're getting requests by email, by Facebook Messenger, sometimes by text message. My library account was blocked or expired, or I can't make Libby work. People have been doing one-on-one instruction via phone and via email to make sure patrons can access those materials. And I think another thing the network did is normally if you had a block on your card, over $10 in fines, you wouldn't be able to access any resources. But I think they've lifted that to make all electronic resources available, regardless of the state of your library card. It's great. No barriers.
That's fantastic. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. I just want to say one more thing. If you don't have a library card and you're watching at home and you just want ebooks, you can get a digital Overdrive e-card just for the Overdrive ebook and e-audio database right through their website. If you want to access Grafton Library databases, we are debuting an online library card application form. It's going out in our newsletter today or tomorrow, where we'll assign you a Grafton Public Library barcode that starts 277, whatever it is, 27445, so you can access all those databases. And then whenever we reopen, you'll come in with your proof of residency, and that's when we'll give you the physical card and allow you to check out physical materials. But we have come up with a process to make digital only cards available, because you can't walk in right now to show your ID or your mailing address to get a card and access those materials. Again, decreasing barriers has been high priority.
Absolutely. And for those who don't know about the library's online databases, those have been a fantastic resource for those of us who are at home and want to learn a new language or brush up on their guitar or musical instrument skills through Artist Works. They had some really great stuff there, and their piano masterclass is really fantastic. I found for someone who used to play when I was a teenager, to pick up all those old pieces and try to work through those difficult spots that that you're still struggling with when you're a teenager, you still struggle with as an adult. There's some good information and some good lessons there to kind of push through those barriers. So I know personally I'm really enjoying that. And the Grafton Public Library has quite a few databases. I know we don't subscribe to a lot of the same resources that other towns do. I know Shrewsbury has some very different language databases, but if you and you really can only use the town's databases of the town that you belong to with your library card.
Yeah.
That was one of the barriers that I saw.
Yeah, you still can, anybody in the state, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can go to bpl.org/e-card and get a digital Boston Public Library card, and they probably have 60 different databases. So if you're looking for more, or you wanted Mango, you like Mango languages better, but we don't offer it, and you can't get a Shrewsbury card right now, you don't have to use Pronunciator. You can click through to Boston, bpl.org/e-card, get an e-card. They'll email you a library card number, and then you can access all of their databases as well. One thing that's really exciting is Ancestry.com, which was in library use only, is now available from home because we set up an authentication process with your card and your PIN number that you would use to do a library hold. So we've extended access to that. And we're thinking about bringing back Comics Plus, even though Hoopla has a lot of comics. We just want to make sure there's not overlap.
Yeah, we were trying to find some comic books because my kids are starting to get into graphic novels, and there were some that Hoopla didn't quite have. It had a lot, but it was one of those things where if you're looking for something specific, you might not always be able to find it.
Yeah, DC Universe is also doing. They have 12 titles available for free right now, which usually you have to pay to access everything. That's another option. It's not library and it's not completely free, but.
Yeah, Marvel's doing the same thing as well. I just saw that today.
Yeah.
Okay. On to more interesting things. One or less interesting things maybe. So my last question is somebody answering the phone for those who may not have access to digital ways to communicate with the library?
Yeah, so there's nobody physically there to answer the phone. I do have a Google Voice number, but I haven't set it up to bounce to anyone in particular. I don't want sole responsibility for it, nor do I want to set up a schedule of who's taking the Google Voice call at any specific given time. So what's happening is someone will call and leave a message, depending on what extension that message is. So if they're children's room, they have a children's question, it goes to the children's room extension. Those messages are getting forwarded to the head of the children's room, Sarah Bannister. Questions about teen services, voicemails are being forwarded by email to Allison, our teen librarian. And Susan and Heidi are taking turns answering the general number themselves. So they'll get an email alert. People are, I'd say, not working so much on Saturday and Sunday, so those calls are going to get a little bit of a delay. But during the week, our response time for voicemail has been less than 24 hours. So we are getting those messages.
Okay, thank you. Any, are you getting a lot?
No, there were a few, there was a flurry right around when we closed asking, how do I get my books back? And, oh my gosh, my books are due, and are you open? And that sort of thing. And then for a few more weeks, it was how can I unlock my card, or my card expired and I want to get the digital resources and it's not working. And now we're starting to see just more traditional reference readers advisory stuff, or how do I get onto Libby? How do I get onto Overdrive?
Good. I'm glad people are still calling and leaving messages.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
And can you give us an idea on, like, when you say a lot, you mean like tens of people, or?
We answered 80 reference questions via phone and email in, I think in March. I'm not sure which spreadsheet it is here.
No, I was just kind of curious if it's a couple a day, or is this like 10 or 20
Yeah,
a day?
it's a couple a day.
Yeah, oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
I might not have bookmarked it, but yeah. And then we've had over 100 questions so far for April. So we're tracking, and I'll have a more full report for April definitely. How many are email, how many are phone, how many are coming in on Facebook. We've set up a Slack channel, and now we're answering reference questions for people on Slack, which is what we started using for book discussion. We're just trying to find people and meet them where they are. We've also started promoting both in the newsletter and on Slack. Give us a call. We're here. Call and leave a message, and we'll call you back, even if you just want to chat and say hello.
It's nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, thank you, Beth. I am going to open the floor to Martin Essner. Any questions, comments for Beth?
No, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Great. Doug Bowman?
Well, the very beginning of the discussion was about what to do when you come back in and PPE and stuff. I mean, I certainly, and maybe this is what you said, but I certainly think the library is going to be open and requiring people to be wearing gloves and masks and cleaning. So you definitely need that type of policy or plan in place.
Thank you, Doug. Daniela Sharma?
I was there on that webinar that Beth was one of the speakers. It was a great overview and very important for compassion fatigue, and also underscored how important the library is to a lot of people in town who may not have access to all the things we may take for granted. So, I mean, everybody should be celebrated for that. Also very interested in learning about the plans to phase in a gradual opening, with an abundance of caution, definitely, because there's going to be a lot of conflicting reports, a lot of conflicting feelings about how to open. So it's important that we get our ducks in a row and stand by them. So, but I think we're pretty much all on the same board to support the library in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Dana Wilson?
I would just add to what Danielle has said. We want to make sure, I mean, and what Doug said, I think we, it would be nice to have a gradual opening. So I think we're going to have to make sure that the library staff are protected. And I think that would be wearing masks probably. And hopefully people that enter the library will have masks on too. So, and I also think, I was just trying to visualize it, how you do the distancing. I could see us doing that for when you exit, as far as returning books and coming in. I could see how that could be done okay. But I could see how it would be, you might have to shift where some people are. That one seat that one, when you first go into the right, to the main room, I guess it's the church, that one person that sits right there is very close. Some of the people might have to be moved back a bit.
I wouldn't anticipate opening and having people sitting. Like, it's going to return your books in the book drop, pick up your materials, and go. No tutoring, no programming, maybe computer use phased in really slowly. We can separate those.
So just
Don't want
coming
people
in,
lingering.
waiting in line then.
Yeah.
The patrons might just be waiting in line.
Yeah, and we have 2 doors. We could have them, line up around the circular lot and in, and have them coming out that entrance in the church past the book drop. So not even the lines are crossing.
That's a good idea. I think we can do it. And I think that would help. Because even if people can just return books, because I know how everybody is, because I have books from several libraries, and even though I know it's okay, I'm still worried about it. And especially films. And then we'll get more, then we can get them, they can take things out. I think that'll be great.
I do think that we're going to need to be generous with an amnesty policy for lost and damaged items too. So if my kid is rereading James and the Giant Peach 10 times over the course of 3 months and it's falling apart,
yeah,
I can't see saying you owe me money for this. Or we had all the library books in one place. My toddler spread them out all over the house. I'm still missing one. I've already got 2 claims returned. I think we're just going to have to say this is the cost of doing business in these unusual times, and don't worry about it. Let's just, waive it and reinstate your card and get your access back.
And I would be very interested, you were saying you're doing that research as far as how long the virus lives on surfaces, including book covers. And that is very interesting. I'd love to know that, because I've been sharing books with people. So, I'm just curious, because it's the same thing when you get your mail, Yeah,
so. I mean, in theory, wash your hands and don't touch your face and you're fine, but we all do it so unconsciously. Yeah, so as soon as IMLS has that research out, I will forward it.
Thank you.
Maybe a little while.
Great, thank you. Karen Sepatelli?
I guess I just have one quick question. Was that talk you gave recorded? Because unfortunately I was not able to be there for that.
It took a week because they were transcribing it. So I actually got the
Okay.
email today. Here's the recording, the
Oh,
slide,
nice.
and the evaluation, and the feedback's been really great. I don't know if you have to register for the webinar to access it, but you definitely have to be a member of the National Library of Medicine, which is free. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to forward out what I have for here's the
Mhm.
archive link
Mhm.
to all of you if you want to listen to it. And you just might have to, like I said,
Mhm.
register for National Library of Medicine to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would appreciate that, and just ditto what everybody else said. So, thank you.
Did we promote that on social media, Beth, that you did all that? Oh, I think
The audience was librarians, so no.
I know, but it shows how you have a leadership role and that you're doing beyond just Grafton. And
I will let you brag about me.
Figure it out. No, but let's remind our people in, supervisors.
Yeah, I think I did say that I was going to be doing it and send a link.
That's good because how many are your peers doing that? You're doing a great job.
Massachusetts was very well represented. I think of the 8 panelists, 3 of them were from Massachusetts, and the person who organized it was not. She's in the Midwest, so it wasn't like it was a Massachusetts thing at all. It was, a call for who's doing what. I said, here's what we're doing. Do I qualify? She said, yes, absolutely, and 2 other colleagues in the state.
I think that's so awesome that you did that. I mean, that just shows your leadership and how you want to learn more and then communicate such. So I think that please remember to remind people about that, then I'll say.
Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Let's move on to the agenda. We're at about 8:36. We have a walkabout, recent walkabout report. Beth Patch.
None done.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to
I did get a call from, or an email rather, from the people who own the church, our lessees, I guess, asking if staff were in the building and how aware we are of the condition of the building. So I'm planning to go every 2 weeks and check it out. We still have custodial coming in, but it might be actually really good. Maybe Beth wants to take a walk around the outside with Ben just to see if there's a downed tree, a broken window. I'm looking at the interior with fresh eyes, but not the outside. So it might just be good. If
I'll
you're
do that.
tired and you're on site anyway, to take a look at the exterior. I haven't seen any leaks or issues, no system issues so far.
I've passed it by every day, and I've been there enough every other week that I know that, I haven't seen anything outside. And I've gone every 2.5 weeks to water, and I haven't seen anything.
And Eileen's been in, Eileen LeBlanc has been in a couple times a week too. And so if the, faucet had burst or the toilet was running, she would have been letting us know.
Very good. Thank you. On to policy review, a pandemic policy. We don't have anything to vote on. I don't think I saw anything come out over email. Is that correct? Let's go to Daniela Sharma.
Yeah, this is one of the more timely policies. I'm not sure where it was in the original list, but ta-da, it's moved up to the top of the list. Beth provided a really good policy, and I just added a few corrections. One of the important parts to discuss or for us to think about is in the staffing section, wherein the sick leave policy doesn't actually match with what is happening on the ground, where you have temporary staff or part-time non-benefit staff are really going to be left in the lurch when situations like this come about, when we have pandemics and everybody needs to stay away for an extended period of time. This is not just for the library. This is going to be for pretty much everyone in the town and not just in this industry. But this is something we really, if the trustees can do anything in terms of supporting a more comprehensive staff, part-time, temp, sick leave policy that makes more sense with respect to a situation like this. I think the social distancing, the program cancellations, the rest of the policy is extremely well written. and even what to do in terms of an extended closure. The beginning of it to show how important the library is as a go-to place for evidence-based information is really, really important, and really puts the library in the forefront of this is where you really should be looking to get your information in a lot of situations, especially in a pandemic. So I really do appreciate that part written in. But I think one of the most critical part right now is how do we handle, or what can we do to support staff where no one can work. The sick leave policies are woefully underwritten for situations like this, and how do we support them?
Thank you, Daniela. Beth Galloway, any comments?
I will just say I don't know how much control or leeway the board has over, I mean, they're town bylaws, these personnel policies that are, if you're out for 3 days in a row, you have to have a doctor's note. And if you are taking care of a sick relative, you get 5 days total each fiscal year for your child's dentist appointment, doctor's appointment, staying home from school with your sick child, taking your parent to an appointment. After that, you have to use Family Medical Leave Act. And you can use your leave time for that, but that's, you'll run out eventually of sick time and vacation time and that sort of thing. So that's concerning, especially if there's a policy that you have a fever, you can't be at work, and you have to use sick time, which you can bank. Like, I don't know, I'm just really concerned about people running out of leave time and not being able to be paid. Although, maybe those kinds of things are going to be suspended during pandemic. Certainly everyone is home and getting paid now, not our temps who aren't guaranteed any hours. We are even paying our page right now, though, even though there's no work he can really be doing from home. But I'm more concerned about what happens if somebody is sick for 30 days and they're out of sick time. I just don't know.
So I'm feeling that a pandemic policy is really a policy for the library, and anything that talks about staff leave, I think is well handled by town policy. Kind of echoes maybe what you were getting at, Beth. But I think what I've seen is the CARES Act talks about how many like if you're feeling sick, that your employer needs to put their best foot forward to allow you to work remotely for up to 2 weeks in order to self-quarantine. So there's some information that's already written into other policies. I'm not sure that we want to write that into our pandemic policy because it may conflict with what town policy is.
Yeah. I would say one of my biggest concerns right now is, depending on how long this goes on, at some point, it may be legitimate for residents to say, why are we paying people to sit at home and take webinars? Furlough them, save the money. Or to go back, next year, if I have to have a 10 to 15% budget cut and I can only cut so much, from the book budget, because by law I have to spend a certain amount of my budget on that. Like, I don't want to lose employees because of the pandemic, because we were deemed not as essential. So I think there needs to be some staff protection in this policy to keep people, to pay people, and to recognize they're doing essential work even if they're not physically on site, and to retain those positions when the building is able to reopen.
Yeah. So if I was to respond to this policy from what I've seen so far, it's more just, if somebody's, I think I only saw the line about the COVID-19, so I'm looking forward to kind of reading the rest of this. We don't have to go through it now, but if somebody's feeling sick and it may just be a cold, I think saying that they have 2 weeks, paid leave and don't have to work because they may have a cold or allergies or something, I don't think we want to say that in our policy, but I think people should make their best effort to work if they're, just self-quarantining, right? Beth Patch is waving her hand.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I'm considered essential at the hospital.
Yes.
However, if they did come up with a thing that if you are, first of all, you cannot come in with a fever or a runny nose or anything. Absolutely no. So you might use your sick time. But if you got COVID, you are and you don't have time, you are given 10 days, which is 2 weeks to get better. Which would probably equal, it would go over the 14 days. So that is, you know, begrudgingly what the state gave to us. But I don't know what Tim would do for the librarians. And I do think that some of his staff are union.
You're not.
Okay. I'm going to open the
I
floor
would
to.
say one more thing,
Yes.
that I know that I've been working my hours and giving back to the town everything I can.
And I was sick for 3 weeks, and I took 9 hours of sick time because somebody had to run the library remotely and set up all of this stuff. And I was better, and I have a fever again, and I'm still working 35 hours a week at least. So.
Thank you for putting in that effort when you're not feeling well. I appreciate that.
Are you okay, Beth? Did you get that checked?
Yeah, my test came back negative. There's no antibody test that I'm aware of that I should be taking to see if I did have it. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It could be something else entirely.
Yeah, there's other viruses going on, I've been told.
Yeah, but I did 99 degrees at multiple times during the day, every day, and exhaustion. So, I don't know. I'm keeping to myself.
It's the pandemic. I get my temperature taken every day when I go into the hospital, and everybody complains of being exhausted, just exhausted and wanting to sleep.
Might just be hot flashes for me. I don't know.
I think it's because this whole thing is exhausting, and we don't know what's going to happen. There's uncertainty, and we're all reading and trying to find out what's going to happen, to paying attention to the news, who's right, who's wrong.
Okay, thank you, Beth Galloway. I'm going to open the floor up for any further discussion. Karen Sepatelli.
One other thing to keep in mind as far as the safety net goes is in 2021, the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act in Massachusetts starts coming online. You know, that's going to be phased in, but, you know, God forbid anything like this ever happen again. That could also be used by staff at various levels. I don't think anyone knows exactly how that's going to fit into everything else, but that'll also be some sort of a safety net available to employees as well. But hopefully we will never see anything like this ever again. So,
Karen, do you know if it applies to municipalities? Because minimum wage law does not, and I got pushback on giving my page a raise in line with the federal minimum wage.
you know what? I don't know.
Which means they don't have to give it to us, and you know, if they want to save money.
Right. I'm not aware if there was any distinction in that law. I guess the thing would be like, out of your paycheck, has there been a new deduction for paid family and medical leave?
No, she said.
No, there hasn't. All right, so you know what? That may not apply to you. I wasn't aware there were different levels of employees, because that would have started last October. That was.
No, there's nothing. I think the town is not participating.
Oh, okay. All right. So scratch everything I just said then. Thank you for everything you are doing. All right.
Thank you, Karen. Doug Bowman.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just add, I think you mentioned it, Aaron, that I think any of the sick leave or any of the kind of town policy stuff should not, and it's covered somewhere else, probably should not be in this policy. Though I do believe that we should be advocating for the library staff and the fact that they can do a lot of their work remotely. I mean, they can't do their programs, but actually they can do programs just differently. So we definitely should be advocating that they can get a lot of their work done, if not all of it, you know, remotely. The stuff that's relevant to, you know, if a staff member thinks they might have it, I think that should stay in the policy because that's relevant to just that specific staff and the fact that they could go home and work for, 2 weeks or whatever. That was it.
Thank you, Doug. Did we hear from Daniela? I don't recall. Closing remarks?
Yeah, I gave the summary in the beginning, and no, I definitely understand the idea of separating out the municipal rules and bylaws out of the policy, but I do want to support the idea that we should be advocating as strongly as possible for our library staff for situations like this.
Thank you, Daniela. Dana, any closing comments?
Now, did we have a chance, is this, do we have a chance to give any more comments?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it right now.
Okay, because
So
I
that
don't
you can all do that.
remember.
If you haven't seen it yet.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'd love to see it. And I think we should be ready because there might be another one. So I'm sorry, it could happen
Well, someone shared this at some point because I know I've read through it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's been a couple, I think it was actually before everyone went home that you shared it. It's been a while.
Okay.
Great. And Marty, any closing comments?
I have not seen it and may have been shared before I joined the board. So I'm going to reserve my comments until after I do read it. I do agree that entering into it provisions that would run into conflict with state laws, municipal bylaws is not a good idea.
Thank you, Marty. Okay, moving on.
Can I just say that, is somebody going to send that out to everybody?
I just did.
Thank you. And the other thing is, even though they can't vote on it, couldn't they send your comments to you and Daniela?
So you can, I sent the link to the Google Doc with commenting privileges. So you can click on anything in the document and add a comment, and then Daniela and I can look at it and resolve it. And then we'll send out, the final draft. You can always go back and look at different revisions of it before we bring it to a vote. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Fine Free Library. I submitted my letter to the Select Board, the Finance Committee, and the Town Administrator's Office. I didn't get a lot of feedback by email, but I believe it was included in maybe one of the Select Board's packets. I'm not sure if they put on their agenda. I'd have to take a look. Does anybody know if it was discussed at the Select Board meeting? No. Okay. Well, at this point, I think the Finance Committee meeting is on hold for our opportunity to speak about that. Is that right, Beth Galloway?
Yes, and they did try and schedule and reschedule, and then we're not having any hearings right now.
Yep.
So I don't know if they will try and do something. I'm assuming they will try to do something virtual before town meeting, which has been pushed back to June.
Okay.
Yeah, so just I'll be looking for a Wednesday night date as opposed to a Saturday if possible.
And on that regards, for fine, for items that are lost or damaged, do you need any support from the board in terms of, once people start coming back and things are being returned, or do you just want to cross that bridge when you get to it?
I think cross that bridge when we come to it.
Very good. Okay, on to Director's Report.
So I have February stats.
Yeah.
Some things are up, some things are down. I can send this out. I have March stats. Lots of things were down because we were closed for obvious reasons for half of the month. We have started, it took us a little while to find our feet, I think, but we do now have a virtual library baby story time, a toddler time, a preschool story time. Dungeons and Dragons is moving to online. All 5 of Heidi's book discussion groups has moved online. Gum Jam and Mr. Kim have moved online. I added a Quarantunes ukulele sing-along, which I think we're going to run tomorrow afternoon at 3. So I'll be singing, you'll be muted. We'll put the daily ukulele song right up on the screen for people to see and share, and you can play along or sing at home. Allison Kusher has done tons of board games, B-O-R-E-D, things to try at home, and look at the library's photo album with screenshots from the game, the directions, and play it at home, and then feel free to put a picture of what you and your family are doing. It's Poetry Month. We've promoted some poetry stuff. So we've been active in the last couple of months with, not doing in-person programming anymore, but trying to find ways to engage with and interact with our community. I do think that people are very overwhelmed and probably screen timed out. So there's not a ton of participation, but some things that have gotten a lot of notice. Let me see if I can find it. So Allison Piccone she's one of our newer employees, took a couple readers advisory workshops and then started developing read-alike suggestions and lists and animated them and put them on YouTube and put them on social media. And this is just some of the hits and screen views. So she did a bunch of these, and we've gotten over 1,000 impressions in the last 6 weeks on our virtual programming, which is really exciting. And then this is our Facebook engagement over the last month. So we're up 27% with our post engagement, up 267% with our short video views. Page followers have dropped a little. We might be posting a little bit too much. But then, I can just keep scrolling through, and you can see that things are getting shared, things are being forwarded. The town is actually the primary source of information for pandemic information. So every time they have a press release, we make sure that we're sharing that and directing people back to the town website. So this has been a lot of focus of our time and energy, and professional development and taking webinars, but making sure that we're still around for people who want to get in touch with us. I know how much you guys like to see the yes and no log, so that's staying active. Again, lots of questions about getting materials back in March. We had no questions in February, I guess. No, we're not doing curbside pickup, toys and puzzles, and no Southwick Zoo passes. Yes, we'll buy the thing that you want that we don't have. No meeting. We're still getting questions about meeting rooms. We have no meeting rooms. Meeting rooms. No, we're not taking book donations. We did have somebody leave a box of donated personal items outside of the library the first week or two that we closed. And I got in touch with Custodial, who was very willing to scoop them up and throw them into the recycling bin for us. But it turns out that an employee did it instead and touched those materials. And just yesterday, somebody emailed me to say, so at such and such library, the staff are there working and they're on site and they're reading and they're taking materials back. Are you taking materials back? And I just said, no. Nope, we're just not at this time. We will phase in returns as soon as we can. But in the meantime, I put my books, because I don't want Josie to destroy them. I'm putting things in a bag or a box and storing them in my car for now. But don't worry, like if you lose materials or damage, we'll figure out a way to deal with it. And I understand your stress and wanting to declutter and wanting to keep all those materials together, but we just can't accept them right now. And the patron said, I understand, I just thought I'd ask. So that was good. And then patron comment log. Heidi always gets lots of wonderful comments for her costuming. And so we have lots of that for February and March. Great feedback for the community read, which had to shift gears mid-program and go to this virtual format. We didn't have a lot of people participating on Slack, but some did. And the nice thing is the Slack discussion, it's kind of like a bulletin board, and it's in real time, so you can join from 7:30 to 8:30 for the real-time discussion, but then you can go back and read and continue to participate even after the fact, and it extends the program. Great service. Love that you uncover the daffodils. That's for Beth Patch. Someone wanting to know why we have flashlights at the end of each row. People who love the winter reading program, which also had to stop before it finished. So what we're going to do for our winter Harry Potter themed program is once we reopen, come in, we'll finalize your reading list and get you your badges and stickers. And we'll pull a winner. Everybody who signed up for the program is in the drawing. You don't have to complete and do all 10 badges to try and win the prize, the grand prize. But we'll wait until we're back up and running to do that drawing. And people excited about the new building and parking questions. So not a lot of new and exciting things. I did not put together a PowerPoint. I just wanted to make sure I shared those stats and that you're aware that we are still working and that we're answering questions and responding to patrons in a very timely manner. I think right now our Facebook response time on Facebook Messenger is an hour and a half. So it's the longest amount of time, even on the weekend, even on the holiday, that anyone, even at midnight, that anyone has had to wait to get a response from the library via Facebook Messenger.
Wow.
That's great. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We didn't talk about budget. It looks like it was actually like in the same line as project updates. So I will just share that as of this month, 1st of May, our budget stops June 30th. So we are supposed to have an 83% expenditure. Our energy is over because of that quarterly sewer bill. Utilities are low, so I'm not worried about that. Repair and maintenance should remain low because the building isn't open to need repair and maintenance. So that sort of is going to take care of some of these line items that are over, like marketing. Even though staff are doing professional development, we've been having so many free things, we haven't had to spend a lot of money to pay additional conferences or seminar fees. Plus, MLA and other travel got canceled, so that line item is under. Communication is mailing, that's a little bit under. Office supplies, we're not there on site to use them up, so that's going to be under. Educational materials, you can see that we are spending on educational materials, but the total educational material budget is actually right on target at 83%. Even though ebooks is over, other things are under, so that's bringing it online for our target for exactly where we need to be for this time of year. Magazines, remember, are already ordered for next year. They are coming in, so we'll have an archival collection when we reopen. Travel, Eileen is going back and forth to the post office, but right now that's our only mileage expenditures. Programming has decreased, but we're about to spend the rest of this budget. We are going to get a subscription for a program called Beanstack, which will allow us to run our summer reading program virtually. And we can also use it for the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, for an adults, 100 Greatest Books Challenge. It's going to give us a lot of flexibility to provide a really robust online summer reading program. So even we've got some money left for our programming budget that we want to spend before the end of the year, and I think that's part of what we're going to use it up for. And then equipment, we just have a little bit of money. Remember, the computer laptop that I'm going to buy is going to come out of the state aid budget, so we still have about $450. My hope is that we will get this budget completely spent, though, before the end of the fiscal year and not be turning money back to the town because we have been beefing up that ebook collection. And staffing is going to be right on target. We did budget some money for temps, but because we have no service desk to work at this time, we may be a little bit under in personnel. So if we turn money back, it's likely to be in that personnel category. I am being asked to consider a 10 to 15% reduction just in case for fiscal year 21. And it was suggested that we could cut the library book budget by the town administrator's office, but I went back to Becca and said, listen, give me either a figure or a percentage to cut my FY21 budget to. Because I know all the laws and the state aid requirements and all that. It's better for me to make that decision to come into compliance with what you're asking for, because we can't just slash, $15,000 from the book budget. And she was open to that. So I'm going to be working on that next week, and I'll send it out when I have a new draft. My priority would be to not give staff raises or only do the minimum 2% that we've been advised, and retain all staff. Make cuts in the programming, office supplies, equipment, and then come to the trustees and use state aid money for that so that we don't have to let anybody go. Because if we do have to let somebody go, we're not going to be able to fight and get those positions back for when we reopen a building that's 4 times as big with 3 additional service desks in FY22. I'm happy to take budget questions or director's report questions if you have any. It's 9:05 though, sorry.
Strategy. I like your strategy, Beth.
Thanks.
You're right on.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think the budget looks like it's in a great place. I mean, it's natural that you're spending more on the digital stuff and preparing for the online stuff. So that looks good. And I completely agree. You want to keep staff because we're not going to get them back that easily.
No.
And we don't want to see them go, obviously.
Nope.
No, I mean, yeah, they work so hard and they're so great. We can't lose them.
And it is 9:04.
Yeah. Mhm.
I will open for quick comment on the director's report or the budget.
Can you forward the director's report to us online
Yeah, I can.
electronically? Yeah, thank you.
I have one question for Beth. With a lot of the library staff operations being online and digital, you mentioned a lot of really kind of neat programs. Is the website still the best place to find what's available to patrons? Or is it best to just get on Facebook and kind of look at the feed? Or
Really, Facebook, I think, is actually the best place right now because it's more real-time updates. The library website, like every time there's a change, we'll put something on the main page, but I don't know that people are digging deeper into our site necessarily to find changes. So Facebook is the best place.
okay, great. Let's go to Karen Sepatelli.
No, it looks good. I am very glad to see that the budget is getting spent on things that we can use now and in the future. So great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Doug Bowman. Yep, nothing from Doug. Very good. Daniela Sharma.
No, everything is good, and thank you for looking out for us in these interesting budgeting times.
Agreed. Thanks, Daniela. Dana Wilson.
No, I just, so I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess I was wondering, how are we planning for next year because we don't know if the town, is the revenue going to be affected that the town has? I just wondered about that. We could talk about it another time. I know it's late.
So I heard that estimate statewide is perhaps a 15% loss of revenue, and then things Tim talked about in department head meeting, or people don't have money to go buy a new car. We're not going to get the anticipated excise taxes or purchase taxes on that vehicle. We have projected for the FY21 budget $360,000 in marijuana sales, but if we have a delayed process for whatever permitting, construction in those buildings, and businesses are not able to open when they thought they would, then that's going to be a decreased revenue. So what they did is they gave an estimate for how much revenue would be decreased, and then said, we could lose some money from here, maybe from here. Library, we could take this much from you. And again, my response was, can't just cut $15,000 from the book budget, but tell me to cut $15,000, and I'll figure out a way to make it work that doesn't compromise our state aid. MBLC does recognize that finances are going to be an issue for all libraries next year. There is a waiver process in place, but they're going to be making sure that libraries are not disproportionately cut. So that's, that if we say that the town revenue is down 15%, but the library gets a 20% cut, that's a problem. Every department needs to sustain a generally equal cut. Okay. And they're not going to worry about things like operating hours, which they normally would look at, for state aid. Or even total budget expenditure. Remember, we have to appropriate a certain amount of money and spend it, and it's the average of the last 3 years plus an increase. So if we don't spend our whole budget, we also won't be penalized. But they are definitely going to be looking at those proportional cuts should we dip below what our state aid or what our minimum allocation should be from the town, say for FY21 and 22 going forward. And I've been clear about that. It's a long, hard process. If it dips too low and we have to go for a waiver, it also threatens our grant, which we don't want to lose.
That was my concern. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I think that the board and Tim and Finance Committee, I think they get it. Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. My internet dropped out. So do I have a motion to close the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Very good. And a second?
I second. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. Thank you, guys. Great to see everyone.